Hey everyone, Sam here, also known as Mr. Stainless, and today I've got something a little different for you that I'm pretty excited about. Recently, I got the opportunity to sit down with Leah at Undead Labs, who is one of the content designers on State of Decay 2, and probably one of the happiest people I've ever spoken to. Now, since I started playing the game, I've just been pretty curious to know how the team at Undead Labs put together the missions and quests we encounter, what the process is like, what they look for in a mission, and whether they listen to community ideas for missions too. So I thought that if this was something I was curious about, some of you other State of Decay 2 players out there must be curious too. So today, I'm going to bring you the edited down version of that interview, and I hope you all find it quite interesting. I do want to say thank you to Leah for taking the time to chat with me, and to Wonder for helping to organise all of this. One thing I will say is if you do enjoy the video, let me know another aspect of the game you'd like to hear more about, whether it's creating the art, creating the character generators, or anything else really, and I'll do my best to see if we can get a chat with the person at Undead Labs who works on that. Without further ado though, here's my chat with Leah.
Cool. I have been working here for about 1.5 years now, and I'm a content designer on State of Decay 2, which means I implement missions along with the other content designers. And yeah, it's really fun for you guys to play with.
Awesome. So whenever you say a content designer, obviously are you coming up with the missions yourself, or do you have like a team of people that puts together missions and quests and all that kind of stuff?
It's definitely a collaborative effort. Usually the seed of the mission will start on the design end, or it can come from anywhere really. Like we just borrow from whatever ideas other people have a lot. And then it'll start as like a sentence. And then that sentence will then grow into we'll look at it and evaluate it. Like, can we actually put some gameplay in here? And can this be a really interesting mission with the tools we have? And if it can, then we flesh it out and try to implement it, and then we play test it and see if it's awesome. So
yeah, because that was going to be one of my questions. You've completely stormed through it, Leah. I mean, that's it. The interview's over. No, I mean, that was one thing that I was curious about. Is what's the process there in actually making? I mean, do we would just call it a quest? Like, what's the process of making a quest in State of Decay 2? Like, you're saying it in some cases it just starts with one line.
Yeah, it'll just start with an idea, a girl's looking for her lost child, right? Like a woman looking for a lost child, or a parent looking for their lost child, since we don't have to necessarily say mom or dad, which is awesome.
Yep.
Love our Mad Libs. So we can start with just that basic concept, and then we do have to do that evaluation process because we are working within a tool, right? And that gives us some constraints and some boundaries and what we can actually do in our system. So yeah, we evaluate it to see if it's feasible, and then from there we start thinking about fleshing out the mission. So that is, you're like, okay, what steps would you go through? Like, how does this mission start? How do you get the player invested here in the beginning? How do they know it's even happening, and how do you give them that information?
What are the challenges that I guess you come up against in that? Because I'm assuming that it's really easy for your imagination to just run wild with the stories that you guys are coming up with in those quests. What is the process of, I guess, whittling down a quest into making it manageable or workable?
Oh yeah, they definitely usually start a lot bigger than we can build. So in that imagination stage, they tend to balloon out. And then you're just like, okay. Oh yeah, I think I can do this. I could probably work with this tool and figure out how to get this working. But then once we go to implement it, we run into the edges of our tool, right? And then we're just like, okay, so that didn't work. How can I either change the mission now, or should I reimagine it, or is this just not going to work? And so there's a lot of in the flow, evaluation and discarding or accepting or changing, right?
I guess, what is it that you're looking for at that initial stage? Because obviously, I guess with State of Decay 2 and with any game, there is there's parameters to the universe that you have and things that your game is and things that it isn't. So on that kind of page of one-liners for ideas, what is it that would tell you, nope, this definitely isn't going to be a quest for our game, or yes, this feels like it would totally fit?
I'm sure all designers have their own criteria, but mine is really just does it jive with me? Is this something I look at and I go, oh yes, or is it something where
Yes.
I'm just like, let's keep going, like, so
Yeah.
usually like I'm like, okay, I got to pick 5 of these out of this list of 20 or something. So I just kind of go down the list and I'm like, oh no, yeah, that would be really fun. I have lots of ideas for
Hmm.
that, and I'll pull it aside and then I'll pick more than the 5, because inevitably
Yep.
one of these is going to be impossible or really hard or just balloon out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's really just like what I feel would be fun
Hmm.
as a player usually, or
Yeah.
as a creator to try and make it happen.
So it's basically you take that one liner, you kind of create almost a mini story of beginning, middle, and end for
Hmm.
that one liner, and then play test it and hope that it works and is fun to play.
Yes. Between that, like figuring out that beginning, middle, and end, there's also the implementation step. Because before
Oh
you can
gosh.
play it, you have to implement it. So
Uh-huh.
that's the one where some things get cut pretty easily. Because you'll be like, get in there, and you're in thick, and you're like, oh, I like this mission. I really like this flow. But
Hmm.
we don't have a tool for like this important piece. So you have to evaluate then, like, do I
Hmm.
want to just keep this mission and maybe rethink it and rethink this step, or like how can I implement it? And that's where like the designer puzzle comes into play, which is one of my favorite
Yeah.
parts, because trying to figure out how I can work within the constraints that I have to make this mission the best that I can.
Yeah.
That's my
I mean,
that's my fun thing.
do you have an example, or are you able to share an example if you can remember, because no doubt this has probably been ages ago, of a mission that you did cut or let go to the wayside during that implementation stage because it just didn't work within the tool set?
Yes.
Mm.
So I made the ambient missions, which are the survivor in
Hmm.
troubles and the ones that you're just like
Yeah.
running around and someone pops up nearby. So
Hmm.
of those, like cut a lot of them in that stage.
Wow.
One of them was you stumble across a person that is just freaking out, right? Like they're just like, I can't handle it, I can't take it anymore. And the
Hmm.
idea was is you go there and you're like, oh hey, I'm gonna help you, and then he just flips out at you and just like and starts shooting. So
Okay.
seemed kind of cool in my
Yeah.
imagination, and then I went to like implement it. I got it all in, like I didn't run into any hitches there, but then I
Hmm.
played it and I was like, this is just weird. Because really, like, what it like hashed out to be was that you basically just walk up to this guy going, oh god, help me, and then he just starts shooting at you, and I'm just like, oh. I don't have the support to do this with like I couldn't get the story across in that kind of little window that I had. So
Yeah.
that one got cut.
Because it feels like there's obviously you've been with Undead Labs for a year and a half, if I
Hmm.
remember that right.
Yep.
So obviously it's probably safe to assume that you haven't worked on State of Decay 1, um,
Nope.
unless magically that happened. But and it feels like there is a very thematic difference between the two games. And well, a lot of people say that State of Decay 1, completely different experience, obviously, from the, I guess, the quest that we get here in the second game, but it felt a little bit darker than what we see in State of Decay 2. Is there a tangible choice being made between yourselves and the folks making the quest to not go too dark and not have there be too much of an oppressive nature over the kind of quest storylines that we see in the game?
I don't think there's a well, we do have kind of like a goal in mind for like the missions. Like we don't want to
Mm-hmm.
go too dark, but we don't want to have it like too bright either.
Yeah.
Like we don't want a clear right and wrong. So
Mm.
I think that just like made in this more like nebulous space of maybe I
Yeah.
could be bad or maybe I could go good, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And yeah, so we were focusing on trying to make it a broadly accessible experience and where you could like have that choice to go either way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can see how it skews a little higher though.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
basically, if our experience of the game is that the missions are really cheery, it's just that we're nice people, and we're not choosing to be dicks. Basically,
Probably.
that's what's happened. Dang it. All right. Fair enough.
Because you can absolutely like go
Murder people.
rampaging across the
Yeah.
countryside too. But
Which is one thing I don't. I'm starting to see a common theme coming to this. It's just that I'm not being an asshole in the game. Challenge accepted. Do you get? I almost know the answer to this question before I've asked it, but do you get people suggesting or sending you ideas for quests?
Oh yeah, totally do.
Or is that something that you guys are I guess subtly paying attention to be like, oh, we could add that to the page of one-liners. This sounds really, I jive with this idea. Let's talk about this one.
I definitely do keep those. Like, yeah, I have my little page of like, oh, hey, ideas. And whenever I hear a really good one from the community or feedback wise, either direct or broadly, I do that evaluation process. So I go like, huh, does this jive with me? Can I make this? And if both those answers are yes, I file it away. I'm like, yeah, maybe I can get to that.
So folks, there you have it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and it's given you a little bit of a behind the scenes peek at how the mission creation works on State of Decay 2. If you did enjoy the video, do feel free to subscribe or leave a like. But until next time, folks, have a great week. I'll speak to you soon. I think I'm going to go write down a few ideas for some State of Decay 2 quests. See you next time.